We all knew it, but it's nice to finally hear it from a credible source here. So speaking of the left just completely making shit up about Donald Trump, you had the Russian collusion hoax that they perpetuated for, we just talked about this with Adam Schiff the other day. They perpetuated for literal years. I would tell you that it was only 2 years. However, it was actually longer than that because you could probably point back to like within the last couple of months, some dumbass from, MSDNC or whatever has gone on there and still brought up the Russian collusion hoax, which we knew we paid millions of dollars in this special investigation. 2 years, they peddled this lie. Adam Schiff went out there and told everybody that how he was privy to this information on his particular committee, that he knew that Donald Trump was going to be going down really, really soon because of his collusion with Vladimir Putin over in Russia. And it's just that it was all total bullshit. It was totally made up. And you have Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard today releasing evidence that President Barack Obama personally requested the Russian collusion hoax. So they knew, the United States government knew that there was no Russian involvement on Donald Trump's part in the 2016 election. By the way, they said, we assessed that Russian and criminal actors did not impact the U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. But Obama continued with the Russian collusion investigations, allegations. Again, you had high-ranking lawmakers who went on television explaining how Donald Trump was definitely colluding with Vladimir Putin. They knew that it was fake the entire time, and they still went out there and told everyone that it was true. These people are evil. These are evil people, and they are not to be trusted.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty massive news there. And look, the way that I see Obama, and really this does nothing but confirm what I initially thought. I think he, if nothing else, that election that he had, though I do believe that the Clintons are really powerful and they are looked at often as like the Democrat, I think Obama has eclipsed him. I think he is the one that really pulls the strings a lot with what that party is going to do, definitely going into the future. Even though it does seem like, though he's podcasting and stuff now, again, with his wife, who apparently there's none of those.
Yeah, isn't he talking about, how every man should have a gay friend?
Nah, I'm good on that. But
sounds kind of gay to me.
But no, I think he's in charge. I think Obama is in charge, and this does nothing but prove that. Look, we already knew the Russia collusion hoax. It never really made any sort of sense, especially now. You see that they're Trump and Putin are at odds right now, especially with regards to what's happening out there in Ukraine. So it never made quite any sense. But that's what the left is particularly really good at, in making shit that makes absolutely no sense, and being able to milk that for everything they can get out of it. It's meant to damage your reputation, and especially if there's an election that's around the corner, or there's public opinion that they're trying to sway in order to have more people adopt their worldview, if you will, then that's what they do. So to your point, they're evil. They're just dirty, right? They oftentimes know that they're lying, but that's politics, is it not? It's you say and you do what's advantageous to you, and it's not necessarily about telling the truth. It's about who you can convince. And that story did gain a lot of legs. Still to this day, you have a lot of parents that just say it, instinctively, right? It's almost like a reflex that they just say it because they need something to try to. I mean, look, Trump has his flaws, and we've talked about it on this show, and I know I certainly have over the years, and it's flaws, but they have an inability to grill him on any of that stuff. They have to pull stuff out of the crack of their behind, right? Like they did with that. And they ran with it. They ran. It never made sense. If you look at what was being discussed in that, Trump is working with regards to, election and public opinion, he's working with Putin and the Russians because reasons, essentially, was all that it was. Because reasons.
Yep.
Didn't make sense. It's just because reasons. But, I mean.
Well, especially when, it was more advantageous for Vladimir Putin to have Hillary Clinton in office was what a lot of people like.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Donald Trump was not going to be his bestie.
Well, that's the thing. And I mean, again, you
means.
see that right now with what's happening in, again, with
Russia and Ukraine.
Russia-Ukraine, where basically, you know, Russia's like, go F yourself, right? To
invade Crimea. Whose watch did that happen on?
Yeah.
Oops, Obama's.
Right.
Decided to invade again? Whose watch did that happen on?
Biden.
Oops, Joe Biden.
Right.
He skipped that time when Donald Trump was president because he knew not to with them.
Well, yeah, they're at odds, and it's one of those things that, yeah, if we are just talking from a strictly political perspective, it does seem that, at least for what Putin wants to do over there in the region, it does seem like it benefits him to have those types of guys in office anyway, as opposed to a Trump. Again, this isn't about whether you're pro or anti, how he's handled the Russia-Ukraine stuff. I'm just saying, objectively speaking, if you don't look, you don't even have to look into the past. Look into right now what's happening. They're at odds.
Yeah.
They are at odds. It doesn't sound like a guy that he's working with.
Right, exactly. So Tulsi Gabbard, I highly suggest you guys go and read her entire thread here over on X. But she said, Americans will finally learn the truth about how in 2016, intelligence was politicized and weaponized by the most powerful people in the Obama administration to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Donald Trump, subverting the will of the American people and undermining our democratic republic. And so she has this like flow chart of what happened. They had the real intel assessment, and then Donald Trump won, and then they pulled that intel assessment and the briefing. They had this secret Russia meeting, and then there was an Obama order that the IC begins outlining new assessment to claim that the election was hacked. I mean, they went through it. This was all part of their plan. She says, for months preceding the 2016 election, the intelligence community, IC, shared a consensus view Russia lacked the intent and capability to hack. And then after President Trump won, all of a sudden they changed it. They prepared an assessment that Russia didn't impact it. And then they pulled that assessment. It says before it could reach the president, Obama, it was abruptly pulled based on new guidance. This key intelligence assessment was never published. The next day, top national security officials, including FBI Director James Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, and DNI James Clapper, gathered at the Obama White House to discuss Russia. Obama directed the IC to create a new intelligence assessment that detailed Russian election meddling, even though it would contradict multiple intelligence assessments released over the previous several months. Obama officials immediately leaned on their allies in the media to advance their falsehoods.
Absolutely.
That is who those people are. That is exactly who those people are. They get the memo from their buddies at the Obama administration, and they don't give a if it's true. They're going to print it, and they're going to continue going over the, can I have another pet? That's who those people are. And so they had anonymous IC sources that leaked classified information to WAPO and others that Russia had intervened to hack the election in Trump's favor. And then you have, of course, I mean, what you already know happened. After President Trump, won and days before he took office, DNI Clapper unveiled the Obama-directed politicized assessment, a gross weaponization of intelligence that laid the groundwork for a years-long coup intended to subvert President Trump's entire presidency. And according to whistleblower emails shared with us, we know Clapper and Brennan used the baseless, discredited Steele dossier as a source to push this false narrative in the intelligence assessment. So all of this, of course, she categorizes it as a treasonous conspiracy. I completely agree with her, by the way. All of this was all concocted. The Steele dossier was concocted. That was, of course, what I referenced earlier with Donald Trump enjoyed golden showers over in Russia with random Russian prostitutes. Yeah, right. The germaphobe, does that strike you as the type who just likes Russian hookers peeing all over him? That doesn't sound preposterous to you? Oh, probably because it's completely made up, as was the Russian hoax, the Russian conspiracy hoax by President Obama and his administration. And these people just keep getting away with it. And that's what makes me so freaking crazy. Is like, okay, I agree with you, Tulsi, that this is a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest levels of the Obama White House.
Prison?
Exactly.
That's the answer. That we know, that's what we need. I mean, we need to know, is anybody going to go to prison? Because, okay, and it's not just with this situation. We know that there is a fraud that's happening, and it's widespread. And these folks will say and do whatever they need to if it's politically advantageous to them at the time. No matter if it means jacking up the country in the process, derailing this political process that they want the American people to have so much faith in. They don't care. It doesn't work at the time. And oftentimes it does, right? It does. They get away with it. And yes, we already knew that again, access media types, they have historically, and they especially are now, just a wing of the Democratic Party, right? With few exceptions. They're just a wing of the Democratic Party. Whatever they need them to say, whatever they need to be perpetuated and planted into the minds of the American people, they run that through them. And it happened. We know that this is something that happens when government gets to working with these private institutions to try to form these various narratives. We saw that with COVID. We saw that with Twitter files. We saw that we know this is exactly what they do. Unfortunately, nothing seems to happen when it's revealed that, well, factually, it's not speculation anymore. We know there's a paper trail of you doing exactly that. So now what? Yep. It's like, what are we going to do with that information? And that's what people, I think, care about, because we already knew. Thanks for the confirmation. We already knew that they were doing that. So now what? So we know all these folks that are involved with it. Anybody going to be charged with anything?
Right.
Is anybody going to prison?
Right.
And if not, telling us doesn't do us much good.
It almost just
makes it worse. Almost. It's like, damn, now we know for a stone cold fact. At least we could just speculate before. Yeah. Now we know there's like more evidence for it, and you're not going to do anything?
Exactly. And then it just gives us more frustration that, wow, it just seems like there are a bunch of elitists in the United States government who seem to be able to get away with murder and nothing happens to them. But I run a red light and I get punished.
Oh, I run a red, do anything regarding your business? Like, it doesn't matter. You're going to be the first one to make sure that you go under.
If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.